Hi everyone, this is a part 3 continuation video on the topic of a man who went to a life coach for some stress related things that was happening in his life where likely thought that he needs a life coaching element to resolve some of the problems and challenges in his life. And the case presented in the reference video is a case of a man who's actually going through burnout, depression, high level of stress leading to physical health symptoms, leading to lack of sleep, leading to a overburdened financial burden on the man where he doesn't even have a discretionary income monthly based on his expenses. He only has about 5,000 rupees left monthly as a discretionary income. And his resolution provided by the coach in that reel was to get him to start delegating some of the work in his office where he's getting overburdened at office life, and to get him to take some extra time off where to give to himself so that he can earn a little bit of a discretionary income, so that he can expand his income in a way that he doesn't just have 5,000 monthly as a discretionary income, in order that he can build up a cushioned income range. But that solution that was provided to this guy would have been a good solution for someone who's actually not burnt out, or actually not waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and having heavy degree of stress and is also showing symptoms of acid reflux. Another thing many people do not understand about health is that heart attack symptoms can also mimic acid reflux symptoms. And heart attack symptoms can mimic acid reflux symptoms for various different reasons. Some reasons that are already known by the medical fraternity, but also there are some reasons that, even if known by the medical and other different health fraternities, aren't really directly correlated as a direct impact on someone's health, which I tried to discuss in a little bit manner when I was discussing about environment pollutants and car travel or travel related pollution conditions. But to spell it out a little bit more deeply, and I already mentioned one thing like arsenic in our food that can lead to acid reflux increase. But like arsenic, there are many other chemicals in our food that can also lead to not just acid reflux but increased stress response in our body. The stress response our body will show via palpitations, our body will show via reduced sleep, especially with pesticide exposures from our food. And in my previous video I did mention how my own personal incidents where eating moong dal was not working for me, even though moong dal technically is a category of dal that was supposed to help with my health challenges. But if the dal quality is not optimal quality, good quality where it really stays healthy for consumption, it can't be a healthy food for me, even if it falls in a category of food that is meant to be healthy for me. Likewise, if a doctor suggests to you that you use for your heart health, let's say his doctor has suggested to him, I gave a random example, but this can also be happening to a guy like this who's in his mid 40s or 50s. I have many male friends and female friends who have cardiovascular health issues. I've also, as a US pharmacist, worked with patients with cardiovascular issues. I myself have some inherent cardiovascular issues that were getting impacted by the quality of food I was consuming. So, if my food or my local environment had pesticide exposures, there was a time period of my life when the pesticide exposures in the food externally was initially impacting my respiratory tract function and cardiovascular function at a minor health distress level, or at a health distress level where as soon as I'm getting exposed to the chemical, my body is saying run out of this area, you shouldn't be exposed to this high level of chemical. But if I'm a person who's not mindful, like while I was feeling the response of pesticide exposure immediately on my health, especially because I had a 13-year gap when I didn't live in India, so India's pesticide conditions hadn't started accumulating in my system, because for 13 years I was not here. So whatever pesticides were accumulating in my system were pesticides from the city where I used to live previously. So that city's pesticide related conditions were impacting certain that city paradigm related health factors. But apart from that, what was now that I was not hadn't been present continuously in India, I had only rarely and occasionally visited India, and because my body had a gap of exposure from the regular pesticide usages in the country, suddenly my body is now reacting and responding to it in an unusual manner, and in an unusual manner enough for me to correlate it to pesticide exposure eventually. Whereas the same symptoms that I was also showing was being shown by other people who live in this area as well. Other people in my family also who are getting exposed to the same pesticides I am getting exposed to. And I used to live with family in India. I have also in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai area, and I have also lived with family in Kolkata as well. So in both these places, when certain level of different kinds of pesticides or insecticides are being used in the home environment, local environment, city environment, travel environment, all of this also impacts our health. All of this impacts our respiratory system and cardiovascular system. It's just that because we don't have the education, most of us don't have the education about what pesticide exposure does to us. And even if doctors or other healthcare practitioners related to medicine do know what medications or what chemicals can lead to a certain health symptom in your body, sometimes you don't put two and two together because of some belief systems we may hold about certain things. So while technically all of us knows air pollution is harmful, technically all of us might know that overexposure to pesticide is harmful, the realistic reality of when we actually get exposed to a pesticide or exposed to air pollution conditions from bad car exhaust fumes, that reality of the experience when it is developing in our body as a health harm, many people don't realize how the health harm is developing. And my videos are actually meant to help you understand that at a deeper level, so that when you become mindfully aware about what is impacting your health, then you will understand that okay, what I have learned theoretically in a science class 10 years back or 5 years back, or what my child is learning in school right now while I'm teaching my child, now I can actually physically see that what I'm teaching my child is actually happening to me as well. Or you can also start, and that is where mindfulness of your health comes. So this guy needs to become mindfully aware of the factors that is impacting his health and different elements of health, which I tried to address in part 2, some other additional factors related to his health, where what are his choices that he has to think about, reconsider. Because what mindfulness technically means is, first you become aware of what is health harming for you in terms of health related factors, okay? But same thing is true about life related factors, work related factors, everywhere. Whatever is negatively impacting us in some way, in a health impacting way, you first become aware this thing is impacting my health. So that's how I became aware that every time pesticides are, initially when I came to India after this 13 years gap, I observed during the summer time this trend, where at that time in my family my dad used to bring some bananas regularly during the summer time. So he used to buy bananas. Nowadays he doesn't do it as often, but when he used to buy those bananas, and I didn't used to consume bananas really regularly, but once a month, twice a month I would consume some bananas. At that time, I observed that consuming bananas the day after a pesticide spraying was done in the society led me to have upset stomach. And every time this was happening in the summertime for 2-3 years, I observed, for a few months span, I observed this just before rainy season and during the rainy season, the spraying was going on. And during those months of just before rainy season and rainy season, when the spraying happened and I consumed a banana, I got stomach upset. So I realized there is a direct correlation that every time pesticide is getting sprayed, and what was happening at that time was our windows were kept open because we like good ventilation and air to enter our homes. So because air was coming in from outside because of the fumigation, that fumigated air of pesticides being sprayed entered our homes, When it enters my homes via the windows, it also lands on anything on the surface of the home. And that's why only in Mumbai like cities you will see there's a lot of dust pollution, that people who do a lot of house caretaking, they understand, like the maid can also understand, the women of the house, if they are dusting and cleaning the home, and or the man of the house, if they are also involved in it, you will see that there's a lot of dust always accumulating on our tables. From where is this dust coming from? Some of the dust is coming from the pesticide spraying, some of the dust is coming from the smoky cooking you might be doing, some of the dust particles settling on your tables and windowsill, all these areas. When some dust is settling, some of the dust could be the construction dust of the nearby construction areas, and some of the dust is also the road exhaust fumes related dust particles. And every element of air pollution that you will reduce the element of dust particles settling on your surfaces of your homes, and of which, because pesticides are harmful to our health, every time a pesticide was settling on the banana, while the banana has a thick skin, when you go and buy a set of bananas, 6 bananas, 5 bananas, whatever number of bananas you buy, or after you've bought 5-6 bananas and everyone is eating one piece of banana, what happens is sometimes the tip of the banana is left open, it is not a completely covered up banana. And at that point of time, if some of it has landed in your banana, or while even you're peeling the banana, if and the banana was completely covered up with the peel, but while peeling it, because dust and air pollution from the pesticide spraying has landed on it, that banana has now become laced with the skin of the banana has definitely the pesticide on it. And if any parts of the banana were cracked open, the peeling has started happening, or you peeled it, you removed one banana and the other one has some gaps in it, wherever the pesticide has landed, and if it has landed on your food while you are peeling it yourself, or before you peeled it, it had already landed on it, how much amount of pesticide landed on it is the amount of pesticide that is going to go in your stomach. And that pesticide, depending on if I have consumed a lot of pesticide, I will get a lot of stomach upset. If I have consumed a little pesticide, I'll get a little bit of stomach upset. And like this, I found in Goa, when I had traveled to Goa and I had bought some things from restaurants in Goa and foods from them. And in Goa, I found like when I bought a brownie cake or something, the brownie cake had pesticides in it. Why? Because the same thing, like if they are doing, the municipality or the kitchen is doing some spraying, and the brownie that they have made has 2-3 ingredients only, and if any of those ingredient bags, most likely the bag of wheat flour, if the wheat flour was left open in the kitchen and someone is spraying outside for gardening activities, Goa has very beautiful gardens also in the homes and other places. So the restaurants, homes, everywhere lots of greenery is there, but to maintain the greenery, a false paradigm of pesticides are used, which false meaning, and I have talked about why pesticide usage is a false paradigm, which people do need to understand now, because right now the extent of poisoning from pesticide is high on earth, or at multiple levels for multiple people, and not just for pesticides, but pesticide is one thing which everyone can very easily understand. That's why I'm talking about pesticides, but the extent of chemical contamination related health issues are high on earth currently. So this guy, if he is also like that, traveling, and while traveling he's buying something from the streets when he's hungry, and some pesticides have landed in that food that he's eating, that will also increase his stress level as the chemicals are accumulating in his body. When he is his wife is buying some street foods, and then they are eating that, again if the vegetables haven't been washed carefully, and in Mumbai people are little hardworking, but people are also very quick in many things. So when you're doing a quick work, many people are not very careful and mindful about the work they are doing, especially if you're over exhausted, like if you're traveling 2 hours for work, 2 hours going, 2 hours coming, or 1.5 hour going and 1.5 hour coming, and then you have 8-10 hour work schedule, and then you have to teach your kids, and then you have to spend time in cooking. So all of these things then add to the plate of a person's workload. And in Mumbai, I know many friends where both the partners were working, both the partners had almost nearly equal salaries, with both husband and wife having this kind of salary like this guy has. I had many friends like that where the wife is also getting 1.5 lakh salary, husband is also getting 1.5 lakh salary, but both their salaries were getting used towards the expenses of their homes, which I discussed in the previous video. And in the previous video I discussed a scenario where the wife is likely spending a lot, but also majority of her expenses is just on her beauty related standards. Now there is a standard you have to maintain at your work, definitely, but there is also a standard you have to let go if financial crunches are happening. And this is the thing people have to understand. If financial crunch is happening, sudden financial expenditure increase happen, because you can also have a financial increase in this case of like when you have elderly parents and one of your parents got sick. And if you in the modern world, women also pay for their parents costs sometimes. So, or if you married a girl where the girl has only sisters, so all the sisters have to pay for the cost of the parent who is sick. So at all of these time points also you have a financial burden where while the husband might be paying regularly for repeat income related, repeat expense related things, the wife could be paying for a lot of other financial stuff as well. So that's why when a life coach like this girl is coaching a man about finances, and the expense list only looks very abnormal, like how the expense distribution was very abnormal, right? So which means that it is not possible that this is the only expense this family has. And that's why only I hypothesize that the wife could be contributing this amount without even knowing what the wife is contributing. But there will be different kinds of wives a man can have. A man can have a wife where the wife devotes equal amount, like the wife also doesn't have the discretionary income also, because they're spending a lot on eating out and other expenses, child's expenses and things like that. That can also happen. It can also happen that they are not accounting for the parents' expenses, the occasional random expenses that the wife pays for. That can also happen. It can also happen, and the man might know that his wife is doing all these things, but the life coach doesn't know it, and that's not presented in her video, which is also necessary dialogue that needs to happen, especially when it is a long-term marriage. Like if it was a short-term marriage or initial marriage years, or if this man was a bachelor, or if he was the only one spending on the family's expenses, at that time if the expense related coaching happens only with the man, it makes sense. But if he is a man who is married to a wife who is also spending on expenses, who is also contributing equally if not more towards the expenses, who is also in a financial crunch, where not only financial crunch, there are different kinds of wives now. If you're living with in-laws and your in-laws help with a lot of home caretaking, some wives are lucky enough and have that luck that the in-laws are really good. At that time, many child caretaking related activities gets done by the in-law. It could be the mother-in-law of the wife or mother-in-law of the husband, whichever mother is taking care of the child. If they are a good caretaker, nurturing caretaker, balanced caretaker, lot of the caretaking related expenses now the family doesn't have to invest in. But in the meantime, while the parent is caretaking, you may still have to invest in taking care of the parent's health also. Sometimes you may also have to invest in doing other things in life, where because your parents are caretaking, you have at least some free time now to sit and do some self-reflection, self-analysis. That person only will be highly stressed, like highly stressed and able to resolve the challenge related to their stress. Someone who doesn't have good supportive in-laws, doesn't have good supportive family to help with child caretaking, doesn't have a wife, if the wife is not working or partly working, doesn't have a wife who is caretaking the child very adequately, because there are many housewives also I know in Mumbai, in West Bengal also, where the husband does all the financial stuff, whereas the wife is only does a lot of home caretaking related things and child raising related things. But a wife still has generally a more relaxing life than a wife of a than the wife who works in a big city like Mumbai. Those wives who work and live in a big city like Mumbai don't usually have that relaxing lifestyle, and are usually, because they are financially at an equal level as their partner, or at least if not equal, equitable level payments they get in their work, because of which, if equal or equitable payments are received by women in their workplace, most women aren't that selfish. Very few women are that selfish that they will not be investing into their family's caretaking needs. I'm not saying that all women are not selfish though, because selfish women, selfish partners do exist. You can go and look at videos related to narcissistic abuse, or just selfishness related videos in social media. There are so many couples who post their couples narratives. In there only you can see who is the stressed out spouse. Just from watching those videos I can tell which is the stressed out spouse, which is the spouse who is doing very less reflective thinking about their spending, and is adding to the spending burden of the overall family when less reflection is happening from one partner. So in the case of the man, any man who is in the same scenario, he has to obviously look at the factors where he is responsible for the stress. If he made the conscious decision to pay 75k loan, 75,000 monthly EMI payment, but he can make a lower EMI payment, do that. Reduce your stress by restructuring it to a lower level if you have that alternative. At that time, yes, your burden of paying for it will get increased possibly to a longer number of years. But if that longer number of years gives you less stress, should you take that alternative or what? This is what I did. I had to decide that I am right now at a certain, because of marriage related issues, because of visa related issues, because of personal family life related issues, I knew I can't handle the stress of stupid divorce related conditions that were happening, where some indirect abuse was happening just via during the divorce process. And I was very burnt out from other factors as well. As a result, I had to quit living in US, even though I knew if I pushed myself a little bit also, I could have lived in that country for a longer time. I could have got a much higher salary for a longer time. At that time I had the potential to gain a higher salary, but I just couldn't bring myself to push myself anymore, because I had already reached my limit of pushing myself in a certain way. I had the capacity to do it in terms of, if you look at my biodata, you will see I could have done that. But I didn't do it because I just didn't. I was completely over exhausted from multiple things related to burnout, where one factor I didn't realize at that time, but I realized later on, someone was also deliberately trying to harm my health. So because of those reasons also, there was some deliberate harm related things happened in my life, as well as some inadvertent harm that was happening resulting from some choices I have made, as well as, so every time you get stressed out or burnt out, or your health gets impacted, or your finances are getting impacted, or all of them are getting impacted, at those time points realize that when multiple and complex health challenges are going on, your responsibility towards your health is a part of the entire picture. It is only maybe depending on how comfortable your life is. If you are the privileged kind, your responsibility of your health is just on you. If you're not the privileged kind, your responsibility of health is dependent on multiple factors. And who do I mean as a privileged kind? Privileged kind is someone who has a good salary, and despite a good salary took a extra burden of finances that they didn't need to say yes to. That is a privileged kind. You had the alternative choice to take a 30-year loan. Why are you taking a 15-year loan if you have the alternative to take a 30-year loan, and you are in an industry that seems like, at least for the next 10 years, that industry is not going to fail? If that industry is not going to fail, if your job is a very stable job, like let's say you are a government school teacher or a private school teacher, teachers can't get laid off, most of them, unless you're really bad teacher or a pedophile or something. That's the person who is most likely to get laid off. Otherwise, are teachers going to be getting laid off? Very likely not, because the population of earth is consistently increasing. Unless the population of earth now starts decreasing, again teacher is a profession that is not going to get laid off. Doctor is a profession that is not going to get laid off most of the time, again, if you are a good doctor, right? So these are the fields. There are certain fields that are very, very stable fields, where if you are working in that stable field and you know for 10 years, 20 years your job is not going to go away, then take a longer period loan. Okay, so make wiser decisions in life. If you make wiser decisions, your stress will be less. If you make foolish decisions, that's when also universe wants to wake you up. That's why subconsciously you start feeling the stress, because you might have made an impulsive decision and then realize, oh my god, I made an impulsive decision, and that will add to your stress. Or even if your wife knows you made a stupid decision and your wife is not verbalizing it just because she's a very nice wife. But what if your wife is not verbalizing it, she's a nice wife, she's a quiet wife, but you still realize it, because many of us are very intuitive in nature. So when we are intuitive in nature, even if no one tells us we are stupid or we have made a silly decision, if we have indeed made a very stupid or silly decision, subconsciously that will start eating you as well. And that is also another way of mindfully understanding and raising your awareness of admitting to yourself, I made a stupid decision and now I need to change this stupid decision towards a less stupid decision or a wiser decision. Many people have a problem admitting they have made a stupid decision, and because when you start having a consistent problem with admitting you have made a stupid decision, that also adds to your internal stress, because you are just denying the reality of what is existing in your present life. There could be another man who could have, he has a 75k EMI, maybe because he got divorced, and in divorce he's paying 20k towards his first wife, and the rest of it he's paying towards the second wife's home. That can also lead to someone having stress. Now, and it is also very possible that the first wife, the house he had shared with the first wife, the life he had shared with the first wife, that first wife used to contribute a lot towards the house's finances, where they were possibly jointly contributing to the finances, where in the child caretaking environment also the wife was jointly paying for a lot of child caretaking related costs. But now he is married to a woman who's not healthy in nature, who doesn't know how to spend wisely on food, who's extravagantly eating too much outside, who looks very hot and to maintain her hotness spends a lot of the finances on herself, and he's married now to that wife. So obviously, while he got the attractive package in the second wife, he's not getting any shared responsibility from her, or most of her responsibilities only towards her. She's not, like, let's say the second wife is spending 90% of her salary on herself and only 10% on joint costs, whereas the first wife was actually equally spending, like he was also spending 1.5 lakh, she was also spending 1.5 lakh. But now that, or she was spending, if her salary was 1 lakh, she was spending 1 lakh, he was spending 1.5 lakh. But now his access to 1 lakh is gone because they are divorced, and because he has to pay child support, he's paying some extra thing for the child support. Part of it is maybe he's paying the children's schooling fees and the housing fees of that wife. That is his settlement, because he had an extra salary than the wife, right? And that is how alimony usually is determined. So if the wife had 1 lakh salary, he had 1.65 lakh salary, half of his 1.65 lakh is going to that wife now, and that much only most of the courts will assign, if I think fairly. Usually many courts do tend to assign something like this, based on what was the family's expense profile and things like that, as well as what is the obligation he has towards his wife if he has got divorced. Now, will he be stressed now in the next thing? Because while he's giving 35,000, and it's putting some pressure in his first wife, but it is also putting pressure on the second wife now, because the second wife, it's not putting pressure on the second wife. Second wife is clueless, she's just spending on herself, she doesn't spend anything on the marriage. So he is naturally going to be stressed out that I have a wife who is constantly spending so much, or asking me to spend so much, going on vacation, going here, going there, but relaxing wise, he doesn't have the economic relaxation he would have had when he had a jointly financially contributing and equitable and fair partner. Because there are many men who do this also. They will get married and remarried and don't understand the value of when they have a fair partner. So this is also something the universe will try to wake him up. That's why at 3 o'clock he might be having palpitations, because he is not able to now handle the extra financial challenge of a wife who doesn't contribute anything to his eating, anything to his eating habits. And now he's panicking, because if he sees a nutritionist also, nutritionist is suggesting all these food expenses which his second wife is not at all interested in doing, which his first wife might have mindfully done that. His acid reflux is increasing, his health is going in a poor direction, because the first wife was possibly, while she had a 1 lakh salary, she also had maybe 4-5 hours free time in the daytime, when she used to spend time cooking mindfully, making him mindful meals, all of which he likely devalued, because he went for a girl who looks fancy, sexy, everything. So now he has the sexy wife, but he doesn't have the wife who will mindfully do things for him to take care of his health. Because these are all the places how stress starts accumulating. The real physical stress also happens, but the emotional stress will happen, psychological stress will happen, because you fell for an illusion of a life with someone, whereas the reality of a life with them is very different from a reality. The wife who usually spends on family related issues is not the wife who's going to spend time, narcissistic amounts of time or hours of resources just beautifying herself. The one who spends time beautifying herself is going to spend less time in devoted to actually caretaking activities. You will see this is a general trend. Very few people who are wise enough to understand this trend about women. There are some competent, I'm not saying that some competent women don't exist who can do both, but in general these are the categories of women. If you are falling for the illusion of a woman, that illusion exists because that woman spends a lot of time in building that illusion, and the one who doesn't build that illusion is the one doing the real work. The real hardworking people of the world don't spend time on quality work. Kind of people can occasionally spend time if they feel like doing it in beautifying themselves, but most of them will spend time not working on an illusion, but working on the reality of solving real life issues. They don't spend their waste. For them it's a waste of a time spending on illusory stuff, because it is illusory stuff, frivolous stuff, stuff that is not an actual real need of life. It is a desire in life, it is a desire enhancing factor of life. If you beautify yourself, spend yourself looking sexy at work, you may get some extra promotions from looking sexy at work and all that, or get admiration from men and have an easy life as a result of flirting with men. All of these things are true, but it doesn't build your character, it doesn't build your worth, it doesn't build your value, it doesn't build the real quality in a person. So the person who's building that quality will have less focus on the elements that are frivolous elements of quality, not the real elements needed to have quality. So this can also be some man's case. Another man's case, it can also be that this is his first wife only, and this is his only marriage, and in this marriage his wife is also paying majority of the expenses. In fact, if the coach now sits with the wife, it is very possible that the wife also has 1.65 lakh salary, or the wife currently has a 2 lakh salary. The wife actually spends 10 hours at work, 2 hours traveling, and she is consistently exhausted with a lot of things that are there on her plate, that she's and because many women do that, also have many women friends who work, who also take a lot of their family's responsibilities. So they are working 10 hours for their office, then they are traveling time at another 2 to 3 hours goes away of their day while traveling. So like that 12 to 13 hours of the day is gone. Then the next 2-3 hours, if they are the cooking kind of wife, they spend another 2 hours cooking for their family. Then they also, if they are not at least cooking, they are definitely women. Many women, all my women friends actually spend hours teaching their kids at home. So their kids don't even go to tuition if the wife is really highly educated. Very few of the highly educated women I know send their kids to tuition. They only send their kids to tuition for later standards or very difficult subjects. Otherwise, many of the normal subjects that the women already has mastered because they use it in their own workplace also, those women teach their own kids also. Many women do multitasking, that while cooking they are teaching their kids, in between cooking they are teaching their kids. So they're doing all these things, so their day usually is a 18-hour day usually, and they only get to sleep for 5-6 hours. So if the wife is also sleeping for lower hours, and women actually in their 30s, if this is a story of a married couple where the man is like 45 years of age and the woman is in her late 30s, at that time what is also happening is, women are having like these long hours of days where they are spending a lot of investing a lot, and women spend a lot of their emotions also in their work, in everything they do. Mindfulness comes when you bring emotions and logic both into your work. That is true mindfulness. People think mind means brain, but mind doesn't mean brain. Mind means a combination of logical thinking. It's a in between space between your left and right brain, and it is a intuition based thing as well. So mind is something that is actually intuition and logical thinking based and emotions based thing. So those who have true mindfulness, they're not just logical thinking oriented, they have a combination of every element needed to bring mindfulness into what you are doing. And those mindfulness oriented people, be it a husband or a wife, let's say the wife is very mindful and she's every element of what she brings to the marriage, and as a mother and as a professional woman, everywhere she is investing a lot of emotions as well as logical thinking in doing her work. At that time point, if he has that kind of a wife, that wife can one day be very super stressed out if she has taken a lot on her plate and her husband is only doing the financial obligations and thinking that's all he has to do. Because there are many men I know who are like that. They do the barest minimum given this century's needs from a man, and their barest minimum is they have seen their fathers pay for family expenses, so their salary does go into paying for family's expenses, but there's no emotional caretaking of the child, no realistic caretaking of the child, no investment in spending time of any hour of the day with the child. The mother only is multitasking while cooking to help the child, help entertain. If it is a small toddler, the mother is entertaining the toddler. If it is a 10-year-old child going to school, the mother is sitting with the child while cooking to teach something to the child. If it is a mother who is also at the same time having some office related calls to take, she's doing that also while cooking, she's taking the calls. Whereas what are the men doing? Most of the men I know, even during the pandemic when many people were working from home, all of them are just sitting at home and just on the laptop, and that's it. They have their laptop. If the wife or mother gives them food, they will eat it. If a cook gives them food, they will eat it. But rest of the time, they are constantly on the laptop. Not a single or very few percentage of men contributed towards house chores. Even during the pandemic, when no maids were there in cities like Mumbai, many societies, didn't allow maids to come for work. But all the maid work also was getting done by the women homemakers only. None of the maid related work. Very few men who are like forced to do it if their women in the family are ill, or if they don't have any women in the family. Those are the only men who did housework, and even then they will do only the bare minimum housework, like cleaning of the utensils. They will not do the mopping of the floor, or they will postpone cleaning of the linen and other things. So men don't contribute only to all these level of work that women are consistently doing and have been doing for centuries. And because women have been doing this for centuries, many men just expect their women to do it, not realizing that in the modern world, if your woman is contributing to your finances, you have to contribute to the home caretaking as well. That is another additional role you have to take, because women have taken up your financial responsibility role partly, right? So if a woman has taken up 50% of it, you have to take up at least 50%. That is the equitable partnership. Women is taking 50% of your financial obligations, you are taking 50% of the home obligations then. But many men don't do it, and when they are not doing it, but the wife is been a nice wife or agreeable wife for 10 years, she has managed to pull it through, especially because maybe the children were younger at that time, and at that time a mother only is needed to caretake a child. So until 8 years or 10 years of age, a mother's involvement is very very necessary in a child's life to nurture the child and caretake the child. So she has that much energy to give also to the child until that age. But from teenage onwards, from the age where the sons are, getting a lot of energy to do a lot of things, at that time dads also need to be involved. They need to get involved in playing sports with the kids, or they need to be involved in having deeper man to man conversations, but real conversations, not the frivolous, friends type of conversations that men think that is what they should be doing with their kids. No, you should be having real conversations about real life with them. Very few men I know who do this with their kids, where the kids are I have only in my all sets of friends experiences, families experiences, I only know of one guy where his wife has talked about this, that her husband spends time with the son daily, connecting with the son. Only one woman have heard this, and rest of the women I know do not have that kind of a husband. So then that builds up stress in the women, that every responsibility is only on her related to caretaking, child caretaking, in-law caretaking, financial also, giving the financial support also. Plus if they are really excellent at their work, they are also having great responsibilities at their work also. So at that time the wife also will be stressed out, and if she is a good wife, or if she had a good life, her stress won't show up immediately. But if she wasn't a good wife, meaning someone who has learned good skills to manage stress by herself, so she has managed for 10 years in the marriage the stress that she was feeling, but now the breaking point is reaching for her, because she's also going to reach menopause age in her 40s. So menopause related problems might start cropping up for the wife, or health challenges related things can start cropping up for the wife also. So the factors that in the previous video I discussed, which will impact the man's health, are they not going to impact the wife's health? Of course it is going to impact the wife's health too. So if your car is polluted, the car pollution will impact your wife's health also. If you didn't buy a good quality car, the poor quality of there are many things related to poor quality of cars that can impact your health. I will make a video on the car pollution related factors, multiple car pollution related factors, not just the evident exhaust fumes related one, but exhaust fumes itself is a major factor that impacts your health. But what impacts a man's health is also impacting the women's health. And what is also both of the, if they are eating outside food, the outside food is impacting their health, both of their health at an equal level, just that they are two different body types. And maybe the man is just feeling the stress responses and feeling anxious and waking up early in the morning. The wife might be feeling also stress responses, but she went to a doctor or a therapist, and therapist gave her medicine. So some of her she is taking maybe an anti-anxiety pill. That's why her stress response got diagnosed as anxiety. A stress response which would be from physical toxins in their home environment, in their food, which is leading to increased stress, but which is getting diagnosed as anxiety. And then she is getting a pill, and because she's taking a pill to manage her anxiety, that causes her to be sleepy, causes her to be calm. But while she's calm, doesn't mean that her health is also not deteriorating if physical chemical toxins are present in their daily life's choices that are impacting their health. All a medicine does is it brings down the threat level alert that your system is giving you when you are stressed out. So stress, many people don't realize it, but stress is a good thing to indicate to you what is wrong in your life. But when is it a good thing to indicate to you what is wrong in your life? When you understand what is wrong in your life, when you acknowledge what is wrong in your life, when you acknowledge what is the root causes of the stress causing elements in your life. And if you misperceive it, and in the modern world many people are misperceiving the root causes of stress, then what starts happening, including the healthcare practitioners or life coaches themselves, are misperceiving certain causes of stress because of the lack of depth or lack of quality of work they are doing, or lack of understanding that they are possibly at a baby level practice of the work they are doing, whereas there is a deeper level practice they have to do when complex challenges or complex stress related factors for this family's case is influencing their health. So if there is a wife who's a very dedicated wife, who is also managing her health in her own way, who's also taking certain set of medications to manage her health, At the time, if there are latent stress causing factors in her life from environmental conditions which are impacting both their health, the man could be picking up his wife's stress as well. If a body is going into a stress response from chemical toxins in their environment, they need to examine where they are living. Is this a healthy place to live for both of them? So that's where both of them have to jointly make certain decisions. Financially also, if the wife is not a frivolous wife and she is spending, if she is also spending 1.5 lakh monthly for many financial expenses, can you ride the storm for a few more years is what you have to understand. Sometimes people take stress imagining problems also that don't exist currently in your life. So should you take the stress? Okay, your industry might crash. For that you are preparing and taking a side job. But if the industry crashes also, can you do anything about it? That is where true zen nature comes and true handling of stress comes. Take the stress of where you do need to take stress, where you don't have any control about what is going to happen. There you have to let go. If your factor related to stress is within your manageable limits, that is where you focus on. The limits that are not manageable by you, part of stress management is to let go of the factors that you can't manage, and let go of the factors in a way you can't manage. But there are also certain things, like if you work in the pharmaceutical industry and you are a research worker for a pharmaceutical company, because 1.65 lakh salary happens to be the salary of a person. I had one time interviewed in a pharmaceutical industry nearly 7-8 years back, and so that's why suddenly this pharmaceutical industry question came up. So that person was from the pharmaceutical industry, had a good salary, was looking for a higher salary. My company was a very unethical company, doesn't value workers, especially not Indian workers or Asian workers. So that company was very biased towards people living in Asia. Even though I had American education, he didn't value my American education. And such kind of biases also exist. But can I do anything about the bias my company has about my qualifications? No, I can't do anything about it. You either see my qualifications, understand the depth of work I can do based on my qualifications, or you don't see it. So if you don't see it, I can't do anything about it. If I can't do anything about it, and at that point I had to make this call, what do? I can give this company a lot of things, and I'm giving it to them also, the things they need to do to actually go forward in a right ethical direction, right sane direction in the next stages of their start. It was a startup company, so they had to go in a certain direction. They were not ready to go in a certain ethical direction, health aligned direction, and also many other direction, financially sane choice based direction, like how this guy is making some financially less savvy choices like that, which is a normal choice. I'm not saying 75,000 loan is actually a normal loan for many people nowadays. But even though it is a normalized loan for many people nowadays in the Mumbai and Navi Mumbai area, doesn't mean that it is a sane loan amount. It is still insanity is insanity, irrespective of 100 people do it, 100 million people do it, 1 billion people do it. If you're making an insane choice, when 1 billion people make insane choices, which is what happened, not 1 billion, but millions of people made some insane choices related to housing market decisions, both from the housing markets banking industry, the retailer, the realtor who is selling the housing, their choices were also unethical, as well as the buyers were making unethical or stupid choices. So whatever was unethical, stupid, unsustainable, insane, all of it in combination then led to the housing market crash. So 1 million or millions of people were making stupid choices because everyone thought that is the sane choice to make, or that is the normalized thing to do. But it was, even though it was considered as a normalized thing to do, it was an unsustainable thing, it was unethical, it was inappropriate for the level of salary someone has. When there were many people who were getting loans that they don't have the salary only to pay off. So how much ever you give them a loan that the salary will not pay off, then you are creating a system for crashing, right? So that's why I said this is a foolish choice. Even though it may be a normalized choice, it is still a foolish choice if it has not been made based on sane financial decisions, understanding the realities of your life, your personal life makes the decision a sane choice or an insane choice. If I'm a multimillionaire, and being a multimillionaire, if I have to pay a 75,000 EMI, it is okay. If I'm not a multimillionaire, if I had some 5 lakh salary a month, at a time if I pay 75,000 or 100,000 EMI, again makes sense. It's only 1/4 or 1/5 of my salary. But if it is not that chunk of my salary, and majority of my salary is just going paying for my housing, a housing I'm not even going to live in, it is a very very foolish paradigm that is going to eventually crash on itself, because you have just propagated a insane choice or a stupid choice that eventually will reach its breaking point. The breaking point that will happen when bad quality housing is there, breaking point that might happen when natural disasters occur in an area, breaking point that might happen when a whole industry crashes, breaking point that might happen when multiple industry crashes. During the housing crash, it's not just the housing market that crashed. Insurance industries crashed, banking systems crashed, US government stopped the crashing of some insurance and some banking industries. Yet there were many other ancillary crashes related to the housing market crash that led to the economic little crash that happened during in the US economy during that time period when the housing crash happened, and other ancillary crashes happened, right? So which is how it works, because everything is interconnected. So the deeper the things are interconnected, those whichever thing was interconnected with the banking industry, all those things interconnected with the banking and housing industry, well, the housing market crash, but which crashes the bank systems, which crashes the insurance systems, right? These are all directly related to each other. So all three were crashing together. Similarly, and also the housing market crash means that the construction work related workers now also don't have work, right? So that is how it crashes, and it can be prevented from crashing when you make the same choices, when you don't continuously assume that everything needs to just increase and increase and increase in salary. And it can increase with respect to inflation, it should increase, but sometimes the increase doesn't happen with respect to inflation. It happens with respect to greed. It happens with respect to not paying the workers the right amount. It happens with respect to asking customers to pay for quality that you are not even providing the customers. So this is how it crashes, because unethical things, insane things, stupid things, and you're expecting a person in a country where you don't have that salary, or in that state where general population doesn't even have that level salary, and you're expecting a person, like, if I don't have 1 lakh salary, can I pay you 1 lakh for a loan? No, I don't even have 1 lakh salary. So how am I going to pay you 1 lakh loan or 75,000 loan? If I pay you 75,000 loan and I have 1 lakh salary, I pay you 75,000 for my house. The remaining 25,000, is it possible? If I'm a single person, I have already told you, I can live with 25,000 salary. But if I'm not a single person, I have family obligations, I have health challenges, and I didn't have a health challenge. So that's the time when I was spending 20. When I started having health challenges, my expenses immediately increased. So now my expenses are much more than 20,000 a month when I have a health challenge, which is just related to eating. Like this guy now having eating nutrition related challenges, he can't afford now. His grocery bills only will increase. If his wife is already not paying for it, then also their grocery bills will increase. If they were eating outside, they can try to translate the eating outside into eating more home cooked meals. But again, with the home cooked meals, the things that I talked about, if organic or chemical laced, right, organic, like my food was getting labeled as organic, the package says it's a organic moong dal, but inside there was, it's chock filled with chemicals, and in the water in the locality was also filled with chemicals. So both of them together is adding to my health harm. So then I can't consume that product. Even if it has a organic label, the label has become meaningless, because the farmer might have done organic farming, the processor didn't do organic processing of the food, because they just want the food to stay long term and sell it further and further instead. And that is where also economies, food related economy is also tanking right now. In a way, people don't understand, and in a way, if people don't understand, it will lead to I don't want to talk about it, but it will lead to some disasters that are waiting to unfold right now in this century, if people don't understand what is waiting in their near future based on whatever they have normalized, crappy things that they have normalized, things that even if you normalize it hundreds of times or hundreds and millions of people normalize it, if it is the wrong thing to do given whatever is going on earth currently, that wrong thing will eventually lead to some crash, some fall, some deaths. All of these are all imminent things, and it can only be preventable when the right choices, right steps, right understanding, right awareness is built. First you have to acknowledge where things are going wrong, then you have to, which the guy has done, he has acknowledged he is stressed. But if he acknowledges only his stress, doesn't see his wife's stress, if he has a good wife and he's not seeing his wife's stress, that is a problem zone as well. That will not resolve his issues if he is not seeing the stress of his wife or the burdens he has put on his wife. And many men are very clueless about the burdens they put on their women, because they never saw only their fathers do anything. I have in my grandfather's generation, men did a lot of things, but my father's generation men, and from my father's generation men to my generation men, don't do many things. They were so high level spoiled. I have seen very few men actually take up the level of responsibility they were meant to take up, given the circumstances of their life. Very few, very few. So which is in India, I don't know about the world. In America, I have seen some men take a little bit more responsibility, and I think that happened in America as a consequence of the world wars, as well as the consequence of the Great Depression. That children had to start learning some better skills of managing home life when they didn't have fathers or mothers to do the work, because their fathers and mothers died in the depression, or their fathers and mothers died during the war. So those families which came from those kind of circumstances, where the parents were not, the kids had to learn sooner to become independent and helpful in the home life, those families do have trained their sons to do the work appropriate for this generation's men to be done. But there are many families where the boys, especially in India, where the boys have not been taught the right skills. Now if the boy was a mature guy or an understanding spouse and a loving spouse, then there are those men have the potential or have taken up some extra roles than what their parents had done previously. But even then they have to do a lot more, and that's why also maybe he's getting stressed out, that maybe when he had the talk with the coach or some of his friends, he realized that he's actually not doing that great. He might think I'm spending my whole salary on my family or family's expenses, but then also I'm stressed out, or my wife is saying I'm not doing enough. Why is she saying that? That is where you have to realize what is it that you are not doing enough. Why? And while you are looking at your salary, have you looked at her bank statement and seen where all her money is going? What if she's a good wife who doesn't even spend anything on makeup or anything else like that, and all her salary is also going towards your family's expenses? You love eating outside, that's why she eats outside. Maybe she's not the kind to even eat outside, but she's eating outside because you love eating outside. Or she's the kind who can do without a luxury car, but you want a luxury car, that's why you bought a luxury car which she doesn't even get to use. She doesn't even complain about it possibly. But while she doesn't complain, if it is a wrong thing you've been doing, where for your egoic need was to have a fancy car, your egoic need was to go and live in a fancy locality where you have to pay the 75,000 EMI, your egoic need was that all these you should go out on dates regularly and eat outside regularly, and all these egoic needs the wife has been feeding for you and paying for you. Why will you get the stress then? You will get the stress because you've been a spoilt child, you've been a spoilt man child. At that time you will get a stress because you realize that all the expenses you have to actually cut down is all the spoilt man child expenses, and that is why only possibly you will have a job loss. Like when job loss happens, multiple reasons are always there for job loss. It could be you are incompetent at your work, it could be your work field is going to crash soon, it could be some things are going wrong in your industry, that's why the job loss is going to happen. But for some people it could also be because You have been spoiled so much by a wife who's spending so much on all your needs that her needs were not getting fulfilled. So you have to have a job loss to understand that these were all your needs, meaning not the necessities of life or thriving conditions of life, but the spoilt needs of life, because some men have very spoilt needs of life, men and women. I'm not saying, in previous video when I was talking about the wives being narcissistic or wives being selfish in spending on certain things on them, those were the wives who were like a spoilt woman child, okay, who doesn't understand the reality of what is the practicality of the current status, financial status of their marriage, or the current plus near future financial status of their marriage, because that is the zone you have to operate in as a couple. You have to see the current status as well as the near future status, at least at the minimum you have to see that. You can look at a 10-year thing also, but understand life doesn't stay constant. So even if you made a 10-year plan for your life with your spouse, that 10-year plan, whether it will stick or not stick, depends on multiple factors outside of your control also, like a job loss, like a life or health loss, or a life or health or job loss of a parent who was also contributing something financially for you, because your parent could have been, until certain years, for first 5 years of your marriage, you were living with your parents and your parents were paying a lot of household bills, which now, because you moved away from your parents, you have to now pay those household bills that your parents paid for. Now your parents are retired, so obviously they're and also living separately, so they're not going to pay for your bills. So you have to pick up that. So as a mature adult, you have to understand the maturity of all your financial obligations as well. And while the wife has understood it, you have not understood it, and that's why only she has to repeatedly give you the reminder that this is the loan we have to pay, because she is also possibly frustrated and stressed that you're not realizing that there's a lot of financial obligations that both of you are taking and handling, given the city in which you live, the place in which you live, the kind of lifestyle you wish to pursue. And here also, a mature couple will understand what is a definite need and what is a frivolous need. Can you cut down the frivolous need? Already, if you're in a loan process and you do have the capacity to pay the loan, you should continue paying the loan. But let's say you are in the beginning of a marriage or a beginning of a loan period at a time, or you're contemplating on buying a house with a loan like this or a higher loan than this, but you don't have a real high salary to sustain that loan, or both of you combined don't have a good higher salary to sustain that loan, or both of you know that in your future, like let's say this was happening to a newly married couple in their 30s, they're thinking of getting a 20-year, 30-year loan and a house of 2 crores or something. Let's say they're going to get a house of 2 crores because it's going to be a future housing, right? So the future housing will be much more expensive. So it's a 2 crore housing loan that they are contemplating on thinking. Do you need that 2 crore house in a particular locality, or can you buy a house in a different locality? That you can consider. Secondly, do you need to buy it right now? Do you both have finances? Are you okay when you have children? Will you be okay with your wife income not being there if you face some complications of pregnancy, complications of health challenges, complications where the wife will leave the job because related to your children only, because there's no guarantee in a polluted earth that you're going to get healthy children. You may get a very unhealthy child, physically unhealthy, mentally unhealthy, socially unhealthy, psychologically unhealthy. All of these are problems of modern lives. I'm not making up these stuff. So all of these and the reason why this is happening only is because people are not leading mindful lives. There's a way to avoid having mentally, physically, psychologically, socially unhealthy children, but the way to get there needs a lot more mindfulness than what people are giving in their lives. If you've given a mindfulness filled life, very less likelihood is going to be there for you to have a very, very disturbed child in your presence of some illness happening in them. But if the parents themselves were ill, socially ill, mentally ill, psychologically ill, financially ill, this guy is financially ill actually. If he has an imbalanced way of looking at finances, he's not considering his wife's contribution to his life, he is financially ill. How the depth of his financial illness depends on whether whether he realizes and wakes up to his wife is contributing, but he is considering he is only carrying the major burden. So which is also false stress then, because then what you're doing is you're falsely victimizing yourself and thinking that, oh, I pay 90% of my household's cost, when the truth is you're only paying 50%, the rest 50% is being paid by your partner. Or there are expenses, frivolous expenses, while she wants once a year vacation, which is a frivolous, maybe a frivolous expense at this point of time. You are also wanting every day to eat outside, one outside meal, or once a week go outside for some fancy dancing and partying activity. You might be also wanting some frivolous things that is putting a toll on a married couple. Like, while it would have been very fun thing to do when you were in your 20s, but as a married couple with 2 kids, it may not be a right thing and appropriate thing for you to do. But you're not learning, you still want to continue those activities that you used to do in your 20s or 30s. So or you're buying gaming system, gaming things, all these frivolous purchases, which the reason why you are unhappy is you don't have your wife might have told you, like earlier in the earlier years of your marriage, she's given you a PS3, PS4 to play, and at that time you didn't have children, she had discretionary income, she invested in that. Now after 10 years she's got no discretionary income, so she can't give you an expensive gift. If you now want to upgrade your PS4, she has told you you can upgrade it, but you have to upgrade it from all your savings, and that's why you're stressed. So is that a man child or not a man child who in his 40s is not realizing that this is not the age where he needs to play with a PS4? If he really wants to play, a PS4 table tennis game, go and play a real table tennis game with your kid instead. Or if you want to whatever Sims like activity, whatever games people do. I just said tennis because I remembered this from a friend's home. But tennis, table tennis, or any 3-4, you spend 3-4 hours gaming in a day, that will also add to your stress. Because first of all, the music and garbage that happens in these in this artificial AI generated videos, those AI generated things are very low vibrational, most of them, for multiple reasons. And if your brain is also getting garbled up from playing a lot of PS3, PS4 stuff, or whatever things you play, online games, 3-4 hours of your weekend you spend doing all that, at that time, that also actually is indirectly impacting your stress levels. You just don't know it, but it impacts indirectly via the media only that you are consuming, like subtly in the background, not indirectly. It's actually a direct impact. It's subtly in the background impacting it. So consciously you may not become aware about it, but if your wife has become aware about it and has started talking about it to you, that will also add to your stress, because you are in denial that this thing is harmful to my health. So stress can come from two ways. Stress can the stress that is a false stress, meaning when you are in denial and you get stressed out because you are in denial that you are contributing to your own poor health, that adds stress because you are denying and suppressing the reality of your life. And that stress will only go away from your life when you first admit that my 4 hours, 5 hours daily of PS3 video games or online video games is ruining my life with my partner, and then only that stress can go away. And if it doesn't go away, when will it go away? You can have that man-child life for another 20 years while the wife divorces you and leaves you, but your stress will never go away, and eventually you may, as a result of a consequence of all the poor choices you made, where all the comfort that was being given to you, support that was being given to you, love and caretaking that was there, social support that was there as a result of your wife and children being with you, all of those will go away from your life, and eventually you will have a poor quality life. It's just that it might take you 10 years to awaken to your poor quality life, or when you are dying, at that time you will understand what harm you have done to your life. Okay, because many people don't understand the consequence of the choices you're making in your present will impact your immediate future if it is something consciously raised in your consciousness. If your consciousness rises at that time, it will consciously make you understand how immediately your choice impacted your health. Whereas if you are living a very unconscious life, unmindful life, it is still going to impact your health, impact your life. It's just that you will not consciously realize how it was doing it. and then 10, 20, 30, 40 years later you will realize it. So how soon you realize is dependent on how conscious you are. And then if you are conscious and you have realized it sooner and you are ready then to not live in denial, then only the actual stress related things will go away. Otherwise just the false stress will go, because what will happen if his wife was a responsible partner and taking care of his health at multiple levels, both financial, physical, psychological, emotional, every element of his health she was taking care of. When she leaves him, what is going to happen is all these false stress that he was feeling, or like he was picking up her stress because she was getting stressed out with the man not doing anything, right? So the man is not contributing much except for the finances, but the finances also she can be wise enough to decide I will restructure it. I can live with some financial pain for 5 years, but I can't live with anyone like she's, if she has been a wife where there are many people who are married to men where the wife is doing everything for the home except for a financial help from the partner, nothing else is happening. So at that time what happens is, in a woman's life that is highly stressful if no other contribution is there except financial contribution, a contribution that the woman is capable of providing. It will take her slow steps, like while with a husband a loan will be paid off in 20 years, without a husband the loan might be paid off in 30-35 years. That is the only difference. But she will also have free time, she will also be exhaustion free, she'll also be man child caretaking free, and she will get time to caretake her own health. So there is a lot of physical health benefit the woman will get, emotional health benefit the woman will get, and definitely 100% of the women's stress will go away. And as soon as the woman's stress is gone, she is leading a different life. The man's stress or related to the couple relationship will be gone, but the stress that he has, the hidden stress that is developing in his body as a result of feeding his mind with a lot of gaming garbage, feeding his life not just now with the wife gone, he might be watching a lot of porn. With the wife gone, he might not care about finances, or he will go into financial debt without even realizing. Like with the wife might have been keeping him in check, like don't extend your spending, whereas with the wife gone he's not even looking that he's going into debt. So all that also can start happening, which will eventually crash his life with him having too much debt, and then he decides to commit suicide. That can also happen to someone. So in suicide cases, when people are investigating suicide cases, people need to investigate this also, that was the wife abusive, is that why the person committed suicide, or was this man irresponsible and that's why because of his irresponsibility he accrued a lot of debt, and then he realized that there's no way he can pay off this debt, and that's why he committed suicide. That is also something people need to look at, because men's suicide reasons and women's suicide reasons are very very different reasons, and you cannot, very few men and women have overlap of the similar reasons that leads to a woman's suicide versus a man's suicide, especially in a very culturally dense country like India. In India, certain things are just not applicable for a man's situation that is applicable to a woman's situation, especially because the scales are tipped against women in many aspects, where men are very much supported in those aspects. That's why only men's stress sometimes are self-created stress. So whether this man has self-created his stress is something also he needs to investigate, and which needs very honest thinking. If you are honest and authentic with yourself and your problems, then you get the honest authentic resolution to your challenges and problems. But if you are an inauthentic person, you are unwilling to look at the parts that you are playing in your own stress, you will not be able to resolve anything except the things where you are ascribing the blame somewhere else. Only those elements you will be able to resolve, or some elements that if a nutritionist says change your diet to XYZ food groups, you will eat XYZ food groups, but because you are unmindful and because now the wife is also not there, you will not look mindfully that in the X food group which quality oil needs to be bought, in the Y food group what quality eggs I need to buy. All of these quality related things a man will not be doing if he had a good wife. I'm not saying that he has a good wife, it depends which quality wife he has, and the level of crash of his life also will depend on the level of some people's stress. They have false stress telling that something good was bad, when they say something good was bad in their life and they develop a false stress surrounding it, that good, when it goes away, will naturally continue harming their life, because they have turned a good thing into a bad thing, and they are turning a bad thing into a good thing. Like they will be happy that, oh, I get to drink with my friends, I get to go on adventure sports with my friends, I get to go and party in a bar with my friends, I get to go and do xyz stuff as a whatever I wanted to do in as a 20-year-old, I can still do it as a 50-year-old. Fine, you can do it as a 50-year-old, but then as a 70-year-old you will not have the same quality life as a 70-year-old who has cultivated a good quality marriage with their spouse, right? Or those guys who did all these activities but still built a good relationship with their wife, you will not have the same quality life as those guys who built a good relationship with their wife and their kids. So this is the difference. The quality of your life's related measures really ends up showing up in a man's life towards the end only. And the stress factors also, which were false stress factors he was talking about, that thing, the reality of it will also show up later in his life. Whereas the real stress factors of his life, if there were real stress factors which were because maybe the wife was abusive, were because the wife was not a caretaking wife, were because he was in a wrong place at the wrong time and he was doing a lot of right things, then again, if the wrong things get taken away from his life, or he step by step deconstructs and removes the wrongful things and choices of his life, wrongful things and choices that lead him to have a bad life, like if he decides that divorcing this wife might be better and that was indeed a good choice, then it won't be a superficial joyful thing like him having a great time without his spouse or without spousal responsibilities. He would truly have a quality life, because it was not about spousal responsibilities that was giving him the stress. It was the quality of marriage that was giving him the stress, and a quality of self-focus that he was missing in his marriage, that or self-care and joint care that was missing, which because now that he is separated or divorced, he is able to give to himself. But very few men, I will suggest, and I think in India, are that type of men who were really very responsible, really very doing. Very very few men I have seen, like only like 10% of men I have observed in my life are that type of men who were quality spouses, who were doing all the right thing. Most of the men are man-child in Indian setting, because their families spoil them so much. And if they were not man-child in their family, like where their family was not spoiling them, there are also many men who, if the family didn't spoil them, at workplace they get spoiled if they are very charming and sweet and people pleasing kind. But that doesn't make them quality men if they are like that. A quality man is someone who brings quality in the life of everyone they interact with, everyone they socialize with, everyone they live with, who is able to build quality in the life. A quality man is not simply just who the society perceives as a quality man. And this is why also things crash. When things are crashing with a quality product or a false quality, when false quality is present, those are the places where things start crashing. If false quality is from both sides, then both sides have to, after divorce or after breakup, decide how to work on it. Or if they are not divorcing, if they both realize and wake up false quality is there in both of us, we have to work on towards bringing real quality in our marriage, then it will come up. You can't bring something when you don't realize first that something is missing, something is broken, and then only you can mend the broken thing. Then only if you realize that something quality is missing in our life, we need to bring that quality element in our life, and then you strive towards the quality, then only you will bring that quality. The stress is coming because it's not a healthy life. The stress is coming because there are many elements of health that are missing in their life, leading him to have stress. And the elements related to his choices, he has to work on. Elements related to her choices or their joint choices, they both have to work on with someone. So if they don't do that, if a man just decides, many men do that also, they just decide, I have to take the responsibility, I have to manage this on my own. Doesn't work in the modern world. Can't work, doesn't work, won't work. If you think also it is working, it will only be a partial or false solution. Because if you did have a financially contributing spouse, and a marriage where you are having arguments with your spouse, the therapy has to happen, or a life coach session has to happen, or a financial coaching session has to happen to both spouses, not just one person. And even the nutritional related challenges, if a man thinks, many men think like this, even after divorce, before marrying, everyone, many of the people in this world think that nutrition, food, health is a very simple thing. Someone will give me ABC steps and I will have health. It is a false paradigm. ABC steps is just the bare bones steps. The reality of it is much more deeper than just ABC, and reality of it is based on how deeply you understand the importance of A, importance of B, importance of C, how deeply you practice the importance of A, B, C, and not just you. If you are living as a family with a group of 4-5 people, they all have to practice it, then only good health will happen to you. Like if you need to eat, if rice bran oils, arsenic is giving you acid reflux, you understood it watching a video, you got educated about it, your nutritionist gave you that idea, whatever it is, you have now, you understand that. Or even if the nutritionist didn't give you an idea, you are realizing every time I drink eat some food fried with this oil, it is causing my acid reflux. You have realized it, you tell it to your family is not adjusting, family is not understanding, and they are continuing to fry in that oil. Then how much ever you have the education, will you have a quality life if they ignore all your needs? No. So that man also their best outcome will be better if their life crashes with the person who are ignoring his needs. Because at that point of time, if you do need extremely careful cooking from your wife or the cook you have hired, or extremely careful buying and purchase of items needs to happen, it's better to crash a previously existing thing in a good way or a bad way. It doesn't matter in what way it crashes. If it crashes in a good way, you will be able to rebuild things with them in a good way. But if it crashes in a bad way, all it means is rebuilding of things with them will not happen. But you will still go towards a better quality health if you have to now sit and contemplate on if your nutritionist has given you these food groups to eat, where to buy the good quality food group, how to buy the good quality food group. All things, maybe as a man child you never took the time, or maybe as a person dependent on your mother you never took the time to look into it, and it could happen he suddenly got stressed because his mother has died, and that also has added to his stress. That earlier many of his food related requirements were looked after by his mother. Many of the salary also coming for his food, like the expenses coming for his food, was like maybe his mother was his neighbor, and his mother used to bring food every day, his special food, one meal, or every week she was bringing some special food for him, all of which is not there anymore because the mother is dead. The mother didn't translate the skills to the daughter-in-law. The daughter-in-law didn't pay attention what the mother-in-law was doing, so she is not able to bring in that care that the mother was taking. And the guy also doesn't know what his mother was doing, he was so unmindful. So then who is to blame? It is his blame only if he didn't allow a good relationship to be built between his wife and his mother, if he never understood the importance that his mother will not live in his life forever. So whatever your mother is doing, if you don't observe what your mother did to keep you healthy, you will never understand how to keep yourself healthy when your mother is gone, or teach that to your wife also. If your wife didn't learn, it is your job to teach your wife what is health supportive for you. Like I know some men friends, or in my family also, they have specific health needs, and those specific health needs I have observed, that's why I know what are their specific health needs. And because I have observed, because I'm mindful, I can possibly bring it in their lives if they allow me to bring it in their lives. But there are many women who don't observe this, so they will not be able to bring something in your life that they haven't observed. And even if you were getting the benefit of it, which is a privileged guy who gets a benefit without realizing what that benefit entailed, and if you don't understand what that benefit entailed, it is too late after the person is gone for you to make changes related to it. Then only you will need now additional help, because you never created that life, you never built that life where what was health supportive for you is now gone. Because one major pillar of your health was your mother, who after she has left your life, you can't bring that pillar of health back unless You remember now what your mother used to do, or you start valuing now what your mother used to do, which you can't ask her, but maybe now you have to ask your aunt, or maybe now you have to ask your father if your father had observed what she used to do to for the health supportiveness of your life, which is important. Why it is not just important for you? If you understand this deeply about you can also bring it into your children's lives then, because your children are also half your genetics, so they will also have those similar health issues and challenges that your mother's remedies were helping you with. Now your children also need help with those remedies. And here I have not even accounted for a simple remedy, like let's say you are very subject to flu like symptoms during winter time, and your mother used to give you a simple kadha. You don't know what the ingredients of the kadha were because you never observed your mother. So now based on memory or based on online research you make some kadha, but now you also don't know that maybe your mother not only used to make the kadha, like you got the kadha recipe which is very similar to your mom's. She had 5 ingredients in it, you also were making it with 5 ingredients, but you've not learned quality. If you've not learned quality, you will not understand that for kadha also, if just the 5 ingredients aren't enough, it is also the 5 ingredients along with the fact that they all have to be healthy ingredients. Like how I said the moong dal had to be healthy, chemical free, organic, label has to have complete chemical freeness into the material, then only it is actually organic. Like that, if I need cinnamon in the kadha, saffron in the kadha, whatever is needed in the kadha, if those ingredients are polluted or coming from polluted environments or have some chemical contaminations introduced in them, that will also add to my health harm. So even if I recreate what my mother did, if while recreating it we have not understood the mindfulness necessary of this generation, we are not educated enough to understand the level of things you have to do in this generation, again you will be stressed both from not being able to recreate what was very working very greatly in the past, and now it is not working and you will be puzzled. Secondly, you will be also puzzled because you're uninformed about what is adding to the additional health harm related to this century. It's not simply that your mother died, that's why you are in a trouble zone. It is because your mother died, you didn't get the recipe from her. It is also because you didn't take the time to understand how to make the kadha in the right way. It is also because you're not understanding what are the current elements of life. Your mother might have been very carefully doing all these things, while carefully selecting the right spices, carefully understanding which spice to use, mindfully doing many things that it's not simply, as I said, it's not simply about ABC. If the recipe says 5 ingredients, it's not just the 5 ingredients, it's how you also use the 5 ingredients, choose the 5 ingredients, what you and which everyone says it's called love is true because you are lovingly doing the work. If you lovingly do the work, same 5 people making kadha from the same 5 ingredients will have 5 different kadhas taste in it, depending on how lovingly you did the work, how lovingly you chose the ingredients, how mindfully you understand when any of the ingredients are spoiled, when to not use it, why to not use it. All of this determines quality, which is what is missing currently in our world. And I hope this was informative, educational, will cause men to wake up that sometimes they have false stress where half their financial stress has been taken up by their wife, but they're still stressed out because they are needing to wake up to the fact that while the wife was taking up the financial stress, or has partly shared your financial responsibilities or entirely 50-50 shared your financial responsibilities, you are not waking up to your spousal responsibilities. You want to be a 20-year-old spouse or a 30-year-old spouse in a marriage which is where you are now 40 or 50 years old. So your spousal responsibilities has to change, the way you have sex might have to change. That can also add to your stress, that your wife may not be wanting to have sex with you. Why? Because she's going to hit menopause. Or it can also be that you are getting tempted by a co-worker and that's why you are stressed out, because you are sexually getting tempted by a co-worker. Your wife is also not giving you sex, but you are not able to freely discuss this with your wife, and you are also sitting and fantasizing about the co-worker after watching all the sexy video games about women. So all these distorted perceptions and thinking that starts playing in people's minds, that is another element of stress. And you don't have a You have a lot of gender biases. You are not going to discuss all this garbage that is going on in your brain with a therapist also. If the therapist is of the opposite gender, then what will happen? All the garbage still stays. You're not ready to address it, but will the harm of the garbage continue, or will the harm or stress related to that garbage just disappear because you denied it or didn't discuss it? Right? So that's why these are all things you have to discuss it either with your wife, you have to discuss it with a therapist, you have to discuss, not just discuss. After revealing this, you have to also take the steps to work on it, the right steps. And any time you take the wrong step, that is also the time your stress increases, because subconsciously at a soul level also, or at a heart level, if you made many logical thinking based decisions, but you're not making a lot of soul level, heart level thinking based decisions, that is another place where a person will get stressed out, because their soul is trying to awaken them that listen, what you have only told the partial truth to your coach, so obviously you're not going to get a solution. Subconsciously your soul is trying to wake you up, which is why also he might wake up at early in the morning, because he needs to actually sit down, talk to himself also, understand his own journey, where he has gone wrong as a mature adult of a certain age. Because if he's a 40-year-old man, 50-year-old man, and he is wanting to behave like a 20-year-old man, or a 50-year-old man with 2 children and a wife, and he wants to behave like a 20-year-old man with no children, no wife, he can't do that. Or he's a 50-year-old man whose mother has died, so now he can't go and hug his mother. It's time to learn to hug his wife, it's time to learn to hug his daughter, it's time to learn how to self-care himself in part of the ways in which his mother was caretaking him. Because now, because the mother is gone, it means he has to find some mother-like substitutes in his life, where maternal nurturing energy would be given to him. But he also might need to now learn to be a nurturer. The reason why his mother died might be also a reason why in the next phase of his life he has to be the nurturer, he has to nurture his wife. Like, what if his mother has also died, his wife's mother has also died, there is no maternal influence right now directly in their life, and his wife is so stressed, she's become a very masculine energy woman, and she needs, because she's hitting menopause, she needs caretaking from him. But he's such a selfish man, he's only thinking about his needs, his caretaking, which he is getting caretaken. It's just the part that his mother was caretaking is now gone. But part of it he needs to develop as a skill to understand how to become self-caretaking. Part of it also could be he needs to now start seeing other women who are mother-like his grandmother could still be alive. So maybe he might need to reconnect with his grandmother, or his aunt might be alive. Maybe he needs to reconnect with his aunt. But in everywhere where he was getting unconditional love from any women, those women's unconditional love doesn't mean that they are just unconditionally giving you. You have to also give back to those women. Many men don't give back. They get a lot of unconditional love from many women or men of their family, but they don't give back that unconditional love's true value back to the people who raise them. Very few Indian men I have seen understand the true concept of gratitude. Gratitude means to give back respectfully, in a respectful and balanced manner, what you had received from someone. And there is 2 ways to give back what you received gracefully from someone. If you had good parents, good upbringing, good love in your life, when those people are gone or dead or dying, at those time points, it's your turn to honor the person who gave to you by bringing that into your children's lives. So you will be stressed out if you never brought that into your own children's lives. If you had your own children, if you don't have your children at all, at that time you are meant to give it as a mentor, possibly to students you are teaching. Or if you are someone, you might be someone who might have to give that to a homeless person or a poverty stricken person. Everyone will have a different purpose that is meant to unfold, but true gratitude or true show of gratitude is to pay it forward, as well as pay a little bit of it backward as well. And if you didn't get to pay it backwards, like you didn't, while your parents were alive, you didn't pay it backwards to your parents in a good balanced way, like you can't 100%, like the level of love a parent will give you, you can never give back that level of, very few can give back 100% back the level of love the parent gave you, but at least 20-30% you should have given back to them. If you didn't give back to them and they have already died now, it is time to maybe give it to your in-laws. It could be time to give it to your parents' siblings. It could be also, and majority of it, that like if you have given only 30% back to your parents, 70% needs to be paid forward, or only 5% was given to your parents, 70% needs to be paid forward to whoever is remaining on earth, whoever is present in your life currently, associated with you in some way, where they now need the level of caretaking you have accrued and the level of cushioned life you had. You have to give that cushioning to someone else who has much worse cushioned life than you. This guy thinking that he has a he's stressed out. Some of these guys, not specifically this guy, but some of these men who get stressed out are stressed out because they're not living up to the paying forward regimen, living up to what they have accrued that they need to share. I hope the love that they accrued, the care that they accrued, the caretaking that they got, the loving, comfortable life that they got, that they need to now pay forward to the wife, to the kids, to the wife's parents possibly, or some, if you're not married at that time, you might need to pay it forward in some other way. So I hope this made sense. It was informative. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Understand that everyone's stress will be different aspects of what I presented in these 3 videos. Every element of stress or health enhancing or harming factor discussed here are the factors that individually you have to slowly realize, step by step realize it, one step at a time you might have to realize and resolve it. And it may be a journey of 5 years or 4 years or 2 years time developing the things discussed here, understanding the things discussed here, because of the fact that to manage stress also, you have to manage stress in a balanced way. You can't suddenly one fine day, if 5 things are stressing you, you can't de-stress from all 5 things. Your body and health will crash. You have to de-stress from each of these things step by step. And the de-stress related to things that you can do, you have to do. The things that other people also have to take part in de-stressing, they will also have to do. And the balance of life that needs to also flow in your narratives with different relationships, that also slowly needs to develop over time. As you evolve in life, as you mature in life, as you understand the depth of evolution needed from you based on the age range you are, the circumstance range you are in, and the privilege range or lack of privilege range of your life. Because it is a lack of privilege if parents have died. But again, there's a but, and the but, part of it I explained here, but there's much more individual specific things that will be needed to be examined, to be reflected on, to be worked on, in order to bring the right, meaningful, soul satisfying, health balancing resolution in the life. And every time it is a married couple, they have to make married couple based decision making. It can't be simply just the man making the decisions for his family or the finances or anything. It has to be a joint decision. Many people forget that, but it is time to awaken to this. Even if you forgot it for 10 years, didn't understand the importance of it for 10 years, now maybe in your marriage you might need to want to wake up to understanding this, because this is much needed thing in this century. So again, thank you for taking the time for watching it. If you want to connect with me or have some questions about the things presented in this video, please post a question or comment. I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.